Do you want to know what I take in my first aid kit? What's up everybody, I'm Dan and welcome back to Backpacking Adventures. I get asked quite frequently what's in my first aid kit. What do I take to keep me safe on the trail? And today I'm going to go over exactly what I take. And here is my first aid kit. It's very small. Now this is a minimalist setup that I put together myself. I did not buy this first aid kit pre-made, which you can clearly do if you want to. Now this is what I take, so this may not be right for you, and I'm not telling you what you should take or what you shouldn't take. You should do your own research and determine what your needs are and what types of first aid items you should take for yourself. But the most important thing with any first aid kit is whatever you do bring, you make sure you know what it is and you know exactly how to use it. So if you have a first aid kit that you bought pre-made, just make sure you go through it, know what's in there, and understand how to use it and what everything is for. So now let's talk about my first aid kit. I'm just gonna pull the stuff out as I go, but what I'm gonna go over are my pills, my creams and ointments, my bandages, the tools I take, and the extra little baggies that I keep in here. I'll explain what they're for. And the total weight of this is 3 ounces. That's my first aid kit, is 3 ounces. So first, the bag that this is in, this is from Light AF. This is just their little Dyneema zipper first aid kit bag, and it's so far the perfect size for me. As far as pills, I take a variety of pills. Now granted, this may seem like a lot of pills, but I kind of fill this up. I replace these in the beginning of the season when I go out, and these last me all year, even if I even use any of them. I very rarely use, especially from this bag. But what this is, and I switched to this year, this is ibuprofen and acetaminophen mix. So basically Advil and Tylenol all in one pill. And this seems to work really well. I've had that kind of mixture from a doctor when I had hand surgery on both my hands a couple years ago. And instead of prescribing opioids, it was take X number of ibuprofen with X number of Tylenol, and it worked great. And again, I don't use these every trip. I rarely, if ever, use these. But if I need them, they're here. And again, it'll last me the whole year, or if I get a pretty significant injury where I'm in a lot of pain, this will get me out. I can continue to take these to try to help with the pain to get out off the trail. And these are in just little pill bags that I bought at Walmart in the pharmacy aisle. If you can see this, the bigger capsules are just some electrolyte. These are extra electrolytes in case I would need it, run out on trail. The little pink ones are Benadryl, therefore if I get stung by a bunch of bees or have some kind of allergic reaction, I can take them to try to get out off trail. The little tiny pills are Imodium. They're anti-diarrheal pills. And so far I've never had to use these, but they're there. And I also have a couple Nexium just in case I get heartburn. So that's the pills that I take. And for ointments and creams, I take a couple little packets of hydrocortisone in case I get some mosquito bites or stung. I can put that on there. I also have just a couple things of triple antibiotic that I bring. I also have this trail toes. This is something new. This is for chafing. It's for your feet, keeping them from, if they get wet, from getting blisters. Now I have a little jar of this that I keep in my ditty bag. This is just extra in my first aid kit in case I run out or there's somebody else that needs it or whatever, but I have this. This is kind of like, I always have it, just a little bit of a backup. But I've used this a couple times from my jar, and this stuff works great. This is basically replacing my A&D ointment. Now, as far as my bandages, I don't really take too much as far as bandages. I have 2 Band-Aids that I've never used. I have them in there. They're just there, they don't weigh anything. I have a piece of gauze for maybe a more substantial cut, and I'll use Leukotape just to tape this stuff down. But I do have, in case there's gashes, I have these little sticky little sutures that you can stick to close the gash together. And again, this kind of stuff is just basically to get me off trail, to get some medical attention. So that's my bandages. It's not very much. And I also have a little antiseptic wipe, little alcohol wipe, just to clean off a wound if I really need to. But I have hand sanitizer, so I could always use that. I also have Leukotape, and that goes with my bandages. But I also use this for just to put over blisters. This works really well for blisters or hot spots or anything like that. And I just wrapped it around a little pencil that way. It's not really first aid, but if I need to take a note or write on something, I have a pencil. As far as the tools I take a tick key, mainly because when I was on the Chuck Kuiper trail, there were ticks everywhere and I had one on me, only had one. But I do treat my clothes with permethrin. I use DEET on my skin, but this is in case one gets embedded, I can dig it out. I also have a safety pin. This is for just popping some of those blisters. And if you saw in another video where I switched out my gear, I have a little toothpick and a little set of tweezers. Probably can't see it, but basically I got these out of a small Swiss Army knife. I no longer take that knife, but I still like these things, so I keep them in my first aid kit. Now I do take a couple extra little baggies. These are like little pill bags. And what I take them for is when I open one of these little creams, or this one for your feet, you can't really close them up. They're not zipper sealed. And then they have an odor to them. So basically what I do is if I open up an antibiotic and I don't use it all, I'll just put it in a Ziploc bag, and that keeps it from getting everything else all full of the ointment or cream. Now, you may have noticed that I don't have like a tourniquet or a sling, and I get that a lot when I talk about my first aid kit. People tell me that I'm missing this and missing that. And again, this is just your own choice. And as far as a tourniquet, I have shoelaces, I have guidelines for my tents, you can use some articles of clothes. The important thing is knowing how to use a tourniquet, because there is a technique to it. It's not just twisting a line. So it's not so much important by having a specific tourniquet, it's knowing how to do it. And as far as a sling, I can use a shirt, my buff, you can make a sling almost out of any article of clothing. So, and again, I'm not out there to survive. If something happens where I need a sling, I'll make one out of a shirt and I'll get off trail. And if you also want to consider something my first aid kit, I do carry a Garmin InReach satellite device where I can just hit SOS if I need to get out. An additional thing that I take that's not a physical thing is my notes on how to administer first aid. And I have notes on my phone on various things, and I read through them from time to time, and I even practice them. You should always know just basic first aid. But I have them on my phone if I need them. And what I have for my notes are things on how to deal with bleeding, burns, fractures, sprains, eye injuries, shock, choking, how to do CPR, dehydration, insect bites and stings, snake bites, allergic reactions, various techniques on how to suture wounds with thread and needle, and how to deal with seizures. So of course that's not an exhaustive list, but that's just what I have, what I put in my notes to take with me. That's it, that's my first aid kit. It's 3 ounces, it isn't much. And again, this is not for everybody, and this may not work for you. Some people bring more. This is just what works for me. And again, a first aid kit is not something you use all the time, but you're very thankful that it's there when you do need it. So what do you take? Do you take a big kit for first aid? Do you purchase it all in one? What do you take? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, make sure you subscribe, give it a thumbs up. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.